Our guest this week on Veterans Chronicles is Anthony Sadler, who earned international recognition after he and two of his friends stopped a terrorist attack on a train in France in 2015. In 2018, they also starred in the movie depicting that event entitled The 1517 to Paris. Anthony joins me today just hours before he and Spencer Stone and Alek Skarlatos, the other two friends on that train, serve as Grand Marshals for the National Memorial Day Parade. And Anthony, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Where were you born and raised?
Born in Pittsburgh, California, the Bay Area, and raised in Sacramento, California.
And when did you meet these other two characters?
We were about 12 years old when we met. I met them in middle school. They had already been going to that school and known each other like all their lives. And I was new to the school. It was like a small private Christian school. And then I met them there, and we ended up being an unlikely cast of friends, the three of us.
And Spencer said that you basically bonded over rebellion against the school. Is that pretty much right?
Yeah, it's like a small environment, so I guess the kids that weren't really in line fell in line together. We were kind of like our own little segment of the population, so we just bonded over like our dislike for like the authority and the structure. So yeah, we just ended up bonding over that really, and ended up becoming friends.
It's one of the most entertaining parts of the movie is when you guys are over and over and over again going to the office for getting in trouble. Now, obviously, Alek and Spencer decided to join the service. Did that ever occur to you?
Yeah, I'm actually a year older than them. So I graduated high school before them. So that whole year I was in a senior, and they were probably juniors in high school. I was like considering going into the Marine Corps, but it was either that or college. And then when the decision just came down to it, I just decided to go to college because I just, at the time, didn't know what I really wanted to do, so I didn't want to commit fully to the military because I knew I could drop out of school if I wanted to. But I ended up going to school and completing my degree, so I just took a little slightly different path.
Where'd you go?
Sacramento State.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your degree in?
Kinesiology, so basically like athletic training and like sports rehabilitation, stuff like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you using that now?
Not now, no. Our lives kind of took a different trajectory in the meantime, but I definitely have that in my back pocket just in case.
Okay, great, terrific. What did you think of their decisions to join the military?
I knew they would. It's just kind of something that they've always talked about. We've always talked about, but definitely them for sure. And so I knew that in some form or another, the two of them would probably end up joining, and then they ended up doing it. So it wasn't a surprise to me at all. I kind of knew. If you knew them as children, you kind of knew they would.
Uh-huh. How well did you guys stay in touch during that time?
Me and Alek, after we kind of separated after middle school, all three of us, we all went our different ways. So me and Alek, not so much. I'd kind of hear through Spencer what was going on. Me and Spencer kept in contact a lot, I guess you could say, but we didn't see each other. The three of us didn't see each other that often because Alek was in Oregon. Me and Spencer were just in different parts, doing different things. So we just keep in contact when we could, but we hadn't seen each other, like been around hanging out in quite some time. So that trip was the European trip was kind of like our reunion, all being in the same room together. So we were just looking forward to that, like all being able to get back together.
And so for the most part, it was you and Spencer for a bunch of cities, and then you met up with Alek later, correct?
Yeah, Alek kind of had his he was coming off deployment, so he kind of had his own itinerary, I guess you could say. He had some things he wanted to see, and I kind of came along. Me and Spencer Spencer wanted to do a backpacking trip since he was stationed out there in Europe, and Alek was trying to kind of be more stationary and get some family history. So Spencer persuaded me to, as a college student, to take out a credit card because I was like, how am I going to pay for a European trip? And he was like, just apply for a credit card, you never know. And my first credit card, and they gave me a $10,000 limit, which is crazy for a first credit card with no credit. So I guess when I got the email that I had gotten the card, I called him back on Skype, and I was like, I guess we're going. They gave me a $10,000 limit, I guess we're going. And that was that.
Fantastic. What was it like to reunite with those guys after all those years?
It was cool. Like it was just like nothing like we were in middle school again. It was nothing different. Like I said, Spencer's always, I guess the three of us actually have always remained kind of the same people. We've matured, but we're still the same people we were, and I think that's what makes our friendship pretty like effortless, because nobody's trying to change or be something that they're not. We're just the people we are, and we just respect each other for that. And so when we got together, it was just like we had been 12 years old again, or whatever it was.
Just picked right up where you left off.
Yeah, definitely.
Before the train trip, what was the most memorable part of the trip for you?
Oh, that's a hard one, because it seems like that trip is all about the train. The most memorable part, I don't know. Just probably like, we had a nice, like, we were in Amsterdam, and like we took either Amsterdam or Berlin. We took these 2 bike tours in either city, and they were kind of like extensive bike tours. Like we got to like bike around the whole city and just see a whole bunch of stuff. And I really liked that, because it didn't seem like it was like touristy per se. Like it was kind of like we kind of took like the alternative bike routes. So it was like it made me feel like I was a local in the city, just being able to like bike through the city and through traffic and stuff like that. Like it just made me feel like kind of like a local. So I like to do local things when I travel. So that was pretty memorable.
Perfect. Yeah. So the train trip was towards the end of the trip, correct?
Yeah. It was. We probably had been there like 2.5 weeks or so, bouncing around, been through like 4 or 5 cities, and then the train. We were only going to go to Paris for like 2 days or so, and then spend the last week in Spain. And so we never made it to Spain. Still haven't made it to Spain, actually. So we have another trip due for sure.
There you go. So let's talk about that day. You had, based on what I saw in the movie, had a good time the night before in Amsterdam.
Yeah, a little too much good time. Yeah.
So you're kind of exhausted getting on the train, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was. We were just like, we were hungover basically. Just like sleep. We bought the ticket on like a Monday, and we were departing on Friday to go to Paris, and that's how we had been doing it. Once we got to a city, we'd buy our departing ticket for the next city, so we would just have a plan, know when we're going. So we spent like Monday through Thursday in Amsterdam. We were just having a good time, and we were just hearing mixed reviews about Paris. We were just like, should we go? Is it even worth it? And then so we were just like, decided that we should, since we already bought the ticket. And even the morning of, we woke up and we're still debating it then, like, should we go? And then we had the ticket, so that was the deciding factor. So we ended up going, and we didn't want to miss Paris necessarily. If it was our first time backpacking through Europe, I kind of have to see that. And then so we just decided to go. Even up until the train took off, we were still debating it. But it was like kind of like something telling us, like in the back of our heads, to get on the train as well. It was kind of like this. We had every reason to stay. It was kind of like this motivation, like, I don't know, like I get something's like we have to go.
In retrospect, are you glad you went?
Yeah, most definitely. Because if we hadn't, who knows what would happen? Well, actually, we know what would have happened on the train. It would have been just chaos and just mass casualties. And I feel like for like one of the few times in my life, I can actually confirm, like have confirmation that I was where I was supposed to be at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So I'm just appreciative that we did get on the train, and I'm appreciative that I was with those two, because if I was by myself, I probably wouldn't have got up. And so it was just all the factors. I couldn't have redone it any different. It happened the way it was supposed to happen, that's for sure.
So you're sleeping, from what I've heard from the other guys.
Yeah.
So what's the first indication you have that anything's going on?
I have like headphones in, and I'm sitting like in a single chair. The aisle is splitting us. Spencer's right here. Alek's on the window, and me and Spencer are asleep. And there's like a gunshot breaking glass, but I didn't hear that. But this is what causes a train employee to sprint down the aisle past us. And kind of that gush of wind, and I knew it was a person. Like I was asleep, but I felt it was a person, and I was like, why are they moving so fast? Like it's unusual. And then I wake up and I see him sprinting away, and he's like going out the door. So I look over at Spencer, like, did you guys just see that? And he's equally waking up, looking concerned, sees the man, and then I see them both turn around. And then so naturally I turn around to see what we're all looking at, and the first thing I see is the shirtless guy, the gunman, the terrorist. he walks through the sliding door. He has a backpack strapped to the front of him, and he's holding an AK. And he goes, the first thing I see, he goes like this, like he charges the weapon. So I mean, we've been around enough firearms or seen enough movies to know what comes next. So I'm just like, I visually register what I'm seeing, but mentally I'm just like, this can't be. Like, I remember thinking, like, no, this can't be. Like, no way. Like, is
Think
this
it's still a dream almost?
Yeah, not a dream, but I'm just like, like, you see a guy with a gun, and that's serious, but it's just like, is this a joke? Like what's going on? Like, is this is this a joke? Like, basically, like, this can't be real. And then, but everything I was seeing visually confirmed, like, this is very real. And then, this is all happening in split seconds. Like, within 2 seconds of, like, I turn around, within 2 seconds of me turning around, I look back at them, and Spencer's already halfway out of his seat. And it just happened that fast. Like, and so as I'm still trying to process that, I see Spencer get up. He sprints toward him, and I had no thoughts as he's sprinting toward him. But I know I was kind of thinking, like, what's he doing? Like, and then he makes it to him. Now probably 15 seconds have passed since I've been awake. So not only processing the fact that there's a guy with a gun, but then one of my best friends gets up and he's charging him, and then he tackled him, and he made it. Like, I'm like, what's going on? Like, and then Alek gets up and goes, and then once Alek goes, that was kind of I shut down all my thinking, and I was like, well, I guess we're going, like, without really any thoughts. And then by the time I ran up, this is probably like in the timeline of Spencer's kicking him off, and then so he's like, so as soon as I get there, like, the terrace is now like in the middle of us, and like as Spencer said, we kind of just like unspokenly didn't know what to do, so like everybody just started punching however you could, just hit him, and then eventually in that scuffle, Spencer gets a hold of him, and then he's able to choke him out, and it was just like a crazy scenario. It was fast though too. Like, it was probably like only a minute 30 seconds, but like at the time it didn't seem like that. It was kind of like really how it is on movies. Like, I see why they depict it like that now. Like, it really slows down, and you're like able to like analyze like everything that's involved. Like, at that moment, it was like the four of us were like the only people on the train. Like, it was just like I could see them two, and I could see him, and like I was only trying to keep track of like our movements. So it was just a weird situation to be in.
Wow.
I just like truly like a life or death situation. I've been in some sketchy moments before, but not a fight for my life. But so that was like a true, just a true, like, truly weird experience. Like, this is for everything right here.
Yeah. Wow. Anthony, let's pause right there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Chronicles. I'm Greg Columbus, honored to be joined today by Anthony Sadler. He's in town to be one of the 3 Grand Marshals for the National Memorial Day Parade, along with his friends Spencer Stone and Alek Skarlatos, the heroes of the 15-17 to Paris. And we just went through this gripping narrative, and you're talking about how it all slowed down, and Spencer just told us a little while ago that his adrenaline was still flowing for days and days. Was it the same way for you, or did you have a chance to get reflective a little sooner than that?
No. I would say an easy month. Well, actually, the adrenaline, it was probably like, it really took like 2 weeks to feel like my body physically was not alert like that anymore. I remember me and Alek were in the hotel room that night. Spencer was in the hospital, and they were like, okay, like, we gotta get some sleep. We'll see you guys in the morning. And me and Alek just like just sat there on the bed for like till the morning, like to the sunrise, because it was just like at that moment in those first 24 hours, the adrenaline was so much. It was like it was like we were still in the fight. So it was like it was just crazy. I've never felt that before. Like, it was like we felt tired. We felt like we had gone through a lot, but it was like you couldn't sleep because it was just like your body was like awake and alert in the way that it like never is. And as far as processing like everything that happened, for me it probably took 6 months. Not through the process, only through the process of writing the book did I start to realize and kind of start to realize and comprehend kind of what we had done, and in the way at which it happened, just because from self-reflecting before the book. But up until then, just months had went by, and it was kind of like I knew what we did, but mentally, internally, I didn't process it at all. It's kind of just like out of body experience, kind of.
How soon did the book opportunity arise after this?
Very quickly. We were just flooded with within 24 hours. I was the first one back in the States, so this happened on a Friday. I probably was home on a Tuesday, and I just was interested to see what the reaction would be because it didn't happen in America, so I didn't think it would be that big a deal, and I was wrong. It was a very big deal, and my parents couldn't go home. Like, their house was like flooded with media. Their family's the same, so we ended up, long story short, getting some representation, and then from there, things just took off. The book happened almost. We were starting on the book probably within like 5 to 6 months after that happened, or sooner probably. Yeah, sooner. It came out very fast.
Wow. So you're at the Spike Awards.
Yeah, which I thought was cool.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the Spike Guys' Choice Awards was something I watched like before any of this happened. So I always thought it was like a cool alternative show. Like, they just always give out like just cool awards. It's like the Guys' Choice Awards. It's like the funny weird stuff. So when I heard we were gonna get that award, I was like, oh, I get my golden antlers, my mantlers. Like, that's cool. Like, I thought that was cool enough. And then they said Clint Eastwood was gonna present us, and I was just like, what? Like, Clint Eastwood? Like, I was like, he thought this was, he's like the ultimate, I guess, hero, or the ultimate, icon in film. So I was like, he thought this was like cool enough. So I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. So but I didn't think anything of it beside that it was cool that he was going to present us. And then as we were sitting there before it happened, we kind of huddled up, the three of us, and we were like, somebody, if we get a chance to talk to him even for like a couple minutes, somebody like casually suggest that he should make a movie, because he was just coming off American Sniper, so it just seemed, and Sully, so it seemed kind of natural. But we were thinking, it's Clint Eastwood, we're gonna have 2 minutes with him at best. Somebody just pitch it to him in a funny way, and we were like, okay, whoever has the opportunity. And then he presents the award, and that was like amazing, like just him presenting us an award like that, and just the words he had to say as he presented us seemed like he really cared, and like he really did want to do it for us. And then we had talked to his people kind of quickly afterward, and she was like, yeah, he never does these things, so like he really heard about your story, like he really likes you guys, come talk to him for a couple minutes. So we're like, oh, Clint Eastwood likes us, like, oh, that's cool. And then so we get the 5 minutes, whatever it is. Spencer throws it out there, hey, Mr. Eastwood, like, you should we're writing a book right now, you should make a movie about it, ha ha ha. And then he kind of, his response was like, he was like, send me a copy, you never know. And then we were kind of like, really? And then so took down his information. Spencer ended up sending him one. No response. Sent him another one. And then he called a couple of days later. And Spencer calls me. And then he's like, hey, guess who just called me? And this is like, this could be anybody, like the way our lives have been going recently. And then so I'm like, who? And then he was like, Clint Eastwood. And I'm like, himself? Like, you just talked to him? He's like, I just talked to him on the phone. And I was like, what did he want? And then he was like, he just read the book. He said he picked it up like 3 days ago, read it already, and he's interested in making a movie about it. And I was like, no way. At that moment, it still wasn't for sure, but it was like, he's interested. So I was like, there's no way. Wow. I just thought that was pretty surreal.
That is surreal.
Yeah.
Let's take one more quick break, Anthony. We'll be right back on Veterans Chronicles. Welcome back to Veterans Chronicles. I'm Greg Corombos, joined today by Anthony Sadler, who today will be one of the Grand Marshals for the National Memorial Day Parade. And Anthony, you're just talking about Clint Eastwood's decision to make a movie out of the book that you guys had written. What happened from there once you got the word that it was going to happen? How did it develop?
Basically, we just went through kind of the process. We had met with him and his team a few times throughout like a few months just to discuss the project, the story, and we were kind of just like, from a consulting basis, like just off the story. And the thing we were most excited about, three of us were like, who's going to play us? So we're all
Who'd you want to play you? Who were you hoping for?
I wanted Michael B. Jordan to play me. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But then with the cast of characters the other two picked, that would have been a weird ensemble.
Who did they want?
They wanted like Spencer wanted like Chris Hemsworth, and then Alek wanted Zac Efron.
Okay.
So that would have been an interesting movie. But but yeah, so we were just like all into that, like who was gonna play us, and then probably 3 weeks before shooting, we're like, he calls us down for a meeting, and we know that production begins in 3 weeks, so we're like, okay, this is the time. They never tell us before what the meeting's for. They're just like, oh, Clint wants you guys to come down, and it's like, okay, we'll be there. And then so we're thinking we're gonna meet the actors. And then he kind of floats it casually in conversation. He's like, yeah, do you guys mind reenacting things for us on camera? And we were like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like, for accuracy purposes, yeah, we'll show you what happened. And he kind of says it. He kind of keeps talking, and then he says it again because he realizes we didn't get it. He's like, yeah, you guys might as well just do this for us. And then we're like, Mr. Eastwood, like somebody interrupted him, like, are you saying that? Sounds like you're saying you want us to be in the film, but that can't be what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? And then he's like, yeah, why not? And that's just all. He casually just said it. Yeah, why not? And then he like gets up and goes get like a sandwich or something like that. And we're kind of like looking at each other all in the room like no way. And that's kind of been like the theme through ever since this happened. Like every time we think like it's going to die out, like the story or like the hype of the story, then something like that we couldn't even imagine happens. Like we had the book and we're like, maybe it gets picked up for a film in some years, 4 to 5 years. These things take time. And then he picks it up and we thought, oh, this is as good as it gets. And then he's like, you guys want to be in it? And we're just like, like this just doesn't happen. These things just don't happen, especially Clint Eastwood taking that kind of chance. And so we were kind of nervous about it, but then we just decided in the long run, how could we say no?
Did it come naturally to you?
Acting?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that. But I wasn't. I thought I was pretty good, and he thought from his mouth he thought it was pretty good. But it not natural, just because we had an advantage to a sense that we didn't have trouble being in front of a camera. So like it wasn't like the production side of things that kind of was nervous at first. It was more like there's a weird dynamic playing yourself. So you're trying to come off authentic, but you're also realizing that you're still in a film.
Right.
So it's like a weird dynamic trying to keep that authenticity, but still at the same time reenact something. So that was just like a balanced thing that we had to figure out along the way. But I think we all got better as we progressed. So it went well.
Spencer said he didn't really feel any flashbacks except for one point in redoing the scene on the train. How was it for you?
Me either, except for that one. I had no flashback except for that one scene as well, because I was standing right there. I like as they're shooting it, I'm standing like right above them, and like Clint's like right here, and everybody's like surrounding. But and I was standing almost in the same spot when it was happening in real life. I was standing kind of over Spencer as he was putting his fingers in Mark's neck. And so it was like deja vu, but almost like for me, like visually, because I didn't really feel it until like I was watching him do it in the scene. And then I was like, whoa, like that's exactly how it looked. Saying the same things. To Mark and Spencer's credit, I don't know how that this wasn't like planned or anything, but they were like saying the same things to each other that they said the day of. So I was like, whoa, like that's it. Like, and then I blocked out the other people too. And then when they called scene, and then I looked around, and then I was like, oh, that was really it, because you could see that people who weren't there that day felt like that was like a different moment. They were just like, oh wow, like that was truly how things happen. And for me being there, I had the confirmation in my own head. I was like, that's exactly how it happened. Like, so I was like, it couldn't have been that moment couldn't have been depicted anyway. We only shot it twice. And I looked at Clint's face, and that was the most emotion we got out of him through the whole thing. I mean, he was great and all, but like He's not one for show much emotion on his face.
Yeah.
And then even he had his mouth open, like he was like so even I knew even he thought that was it. So I was like, okay, like I was like, if anything, these moments, the train and the moments afterward, because that was the most important part. So I was like, if anything, these parts are as good as they can get.
Exactly. So they used the exact same kind of train?
Yeah. It was a Talus train, and it was set up generally like how it was, like close enough, but I won't say exactly. It was a Talus train. It was set up kind of very similar, like 95%.
Okay. So, what's life like after the notoriety for the actual event and then the movie? What's it like for you now?
Being known for the event, like that's a humbling thing, 'cause it's kind of like it's humbling, but it's also a good thing to be known for, I guess, because it's not like I don't know, some raunchy social media scandal or some crazy like that. Like it's like, I guess, a good thing, good reason to be known. But it's also humbling at the same time, because it's just like when people like attach the word hero to you, it's kind of like, whoa, like kind of cautionary, because so many people, especially like it's Memorial Day, so many people have put it all on the line and done, amazing things throughout history, and they have the word hero attached to them. So to be attached to that company and with people like that, it's kind of we don't really identify ourselves in that way, but it's definitely humbling, and it's something we could be proud of and appreciate for the rest of our lives if other people see it that way. So it's definitely something I'm thankful for, having gone through that experience. And then for the movie, that's just took it to like kind of like a whole nother level, because we were having a conversation. I told the guys, I was like, yeah, it wasn't a problem, but I was like, when the movie comes out and there's actors, like this story will forever be known in the public mind as like the movie. Like they'll just see the story as the actors, like, because those things just happen. So to have the opportunity and to have kind of like the verification with Clint Eastwood's stamp on it, and to have us in it, it was just something that I'm extremely thankful for, because if everybody, we talked about this before it came out, if everybody hated the movie 100%, it made $0, we would have the movie 20 years from now. We could show our family, like, not only did we do this in real life, but watch us do it. Mm-hmm. And Clint Eastwood depicted it, and it kind of had that stamp of approval on it. So, like, that's something nobody could take away from us, and I'm just, like, extremely thankful for the experience, really.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
I still live in Sacramento. I just had recently graduated college, probably like a year and a half ago, and then which I finished after the fact. And so I have manager representation now, so I'm back and forth to LA all the time doing auditions and taking acting classes, because just trying to get better at that craft. Mm-hmm. And then just see where that takes me. I kind of have a clean slate right now. Just finished school, so don't really have nothing else going on. So it was either pursue that or pursue the acting. And Mr. Eastwood kind of opened a huge door for us. And from meeting people in the industry since, we just realized these things just don't happen. So just trying not to waste the opportunity that he gave us. And I think he wants to see us, try and pursue it. So that's just where I'm at right now, trying to work on the craft of acting and auditioning and hopefully get booking that next role.
From what I remember in the movie, as you guys were going around Europe, you were filming everything.
Yeah.
Do you have any directing ambition?
It's weird. It's weird because I never thought, it's weird because I usually don't say this because it sounds, I hate when people do that in retrospect, like, oh, I kind of always had this in my back of my head. Like, I didn't have acting in my back of my head at all. But I've always, like, we've grown up, it's another thing we bond over is film, like movies and stuff like that. So it's just, I kind of always thought about, like, what it would be like to make my own film, but never pursued it, never took film, theater, nothing like that. But since having the opportunity, acting isn't just like the only thing I want to, try and dabble in. There's like I've learned that there's a whole lot more to the process, whether it's behind the camera or like screenwriting or like producing stuff. So I'm at the, the genesis of that pursuing that stuff, but I've been trying to, work on that as well as acting, like write scripts and stuff like that. So I think if I end up staying, like, in the industry and stuff, I could see myself maybe doing that one day. But right now we kind of just got exposed to it all at once, like the industry. So it's just really interesting. So I'm kind of right now just trying to wet sponge, soak up all that I can, really.
Figure out how the whole system works.
Yeah.
Just going back to the movie for a second, obviously you played yourself for most of the movie, but obviously when you're a kid, somebody else is playing you.
Right.
What was that like, and how did you try to coach the kid?
I was worried about how he would look. Like, would he look like me as a kid? And they picked a good kid, Paul Williams. He looked like similar to me as a kid, close enough. So I was like, okay, we got that down. And then I didn't have time to coach him or I just talked to him probably for like a little less than an hour. And I just how the shooting schedule was, I wasn't on campus while the kids were shooting. And so only Spencer had seen like the different scenes that they did. And he was like, oh no, you're good. Like, he was like, your kid's great. And then so I trust his opinion. So I was like, okay, if he says it's on, it's on. And when I talked to him, he seemed like a cool little kid. So I was like, okay, he can do it. And then so I didn't see any of the scenes that the kids did until I saw the finished product with Clint and the producers. That was the first time we watched the movie in general. Okay. And then I was just laughing the whole time because I was just like, it was just funny how he was doing it. And how spot on he kind of was without us have had that coaching time. Yeah. So I thought he did an amazing job. I thought all the kids did good. It was pretty funny.
Well, that's great. Well, I couldn't be happier for all the opportunities and success you guys have had as a result of the selfless actions that you took on the train that day. It's great to see that type of selflessness rewarded. And so best of luck to you, and thank you so much for your time today.
Well, I appreciate it.
Last quick question. What does it mean to you to be a marshal for the National Memorial Day Parade?
It means a lot, especially like when we get to do things honoring military and military service, just because I'm a civilian. And so I always hold those guys and women to a certain esteem. So to be in the Grand Marshal Parade for Memorial Day, it's just something that, it's another humbling experience, very appreciative. And I look forward to, paying my respects for all who gave the ultimate sacrifice, because those are the real heroes. And I know that that's the company that we're kind of in now. Mm-hmm. And for these military heroes and stuff to have their day today, and I get to be a part of it, I'm just extremely thankful for it. So looking forward to it.
Anthony, thanks for your time. Thanks for being here today with us.
Thank you.
Anthony Sadler, one of the heroes of the 1517 to Paris. I'm Greg Columbus. This is Veterans Chronicles.